Hello, everyone, and happy Travel Talk Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will begin in just a few minutes. We are just waiting for everyone to log on and get situated. In the meantime, feel free to write in the chat box where you're tuning in from today. And hello to and welcome to everyone joining us on Facebook as well today. We're so excited that you're here with us today. Feel free to write in the comment section there where you're tuning in from. All right, let's see who's here today. There's Frank and Marianne. And we have another Marianne from Raleigh. We have Becky from Wilmington. Hello, Melissa from Arizona. We have Patty from Toronto. Hello to our Canadian friends. There's a lot of Canadians here, I see. We have Louis from Alberta. And we have Anthony from San Francisco Bay Area. Hello, welcome. Nice to see you again. Lisa from Silver City. Lorraine from Canada. Thank you everyone for being here with us today. All right, well, with that, let's get started. My name is Daniela and I work out of the EF Go Ahead Tours Boston office. I am so excited to be here with you today for this wonderful travel talk on Belize. If this is your first time joining us for a travel talk, welcome. We're so happy to have you. And if you've joined us in the past, as many of you have, thank you again for tuning in and thank you for your continued support. Now, as always, we'll try to make this session as fun and informative as possible for you. But before we get started, I do want to set some expectations for this session. First, this is a webinar, which means you will only be able to see and hear me, your host, and our special guest today. Now, your camera and microphone will be off, so we won't be able to see or hear you, but of course, we do want to hear from you. So if you do have any questions throughout the session today, just use that Q&A functionality that is either located at the top or at the bottom of your screen and submit your questions there. We have somebody monitoring that Q&A inbox and we'll be collecting those questions and answering them at the end of the session. You might also have one of my colleagues answering them live throughout the session as well. And then for those of you on Facebook, of course, we want to hear from you as well. If you have any questions, just type them in the comment section there. We will have a live Q&A section at the end, but we'll also try to answer some of those questions throughout the webinar. And we also have some pre-submitted questions. Thanks for everyone who submitted those. We did incorporate them into our presentation today as well. Now, today we're going to uncover a biodiverse hotspot that is just waiting to be discovered. The small but beautiful country of Belize. Belize is home to one of the world's healthiest barrier reefs and archaeological sites that were once at the center of Mayan civilization and a lush rainforest. So whether you've always dreamed of snorkeling through stunning barrier reefs or always wanted to discover ancient Mayan cities or just wanted to explore highly diverse ecosystems of a rainforest, then I would definitely recommend putting Belize on your bucket list because you can do all of those things in just one small country. So over the next hour, we will be virtually traveling from Belize City to the stunning island of Ambergris Caye, to the beaches of the southern coast and the Cayo district, which is home of the Xanantunich Mayan ruins. We will be joined by our expert tour director, Efrain, who I had the privilege of traveling with to Belize last November, and it was such a fun tour. So Efrain is going to share his insider tips and favorite must-see sites, as well as some of his best food and drink suggestions that you should try while you're in Belize. And with that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce your host for today, Efrain, coming to us live from his home in Belize. Efrain, thank you so much for being here today. We're so excited for you to take us on this virtual journey. Before we get started, would you mind sharing a few words about yourself?
I'm happy to be here as well. Warm tropical greetings, everybody. My name is Efrain, and I'm a native of this beautiful jewel called Belize. I've been leading EF tours for about 8 years now, which have been a life-changing experience for me. I love meeting new people and sharing my country's history, culture, and food with them. I'm looking forward to meeting or seeing some of you guys here in Belize. Yo.
Yes, thank you again, Efrain. Now, before we start to run through Go Ahead's itinerary to Belize, let's first talk a little bit about where Belize is located. Efrain, can you tell us a bit more about Belize's geographical features?
All right, so this tropical wonderland is bordered to the north by Mexico and west and south by Guatemala, and to the east, the beautiful Caribbean Sea. So we are thus wedged between Mexico and Guatemala, but we are the gateway to the Caribbean and Central America.
Great, thank you. Now, the tour we're going to talk about today is our a week in Belize tour. This is a 9-day tour, or if you want to extend your stay and cross over to Guatemala, we have a 12-day version as well. The tour is part of our small tour group adventure portfolio. So the group size is pretty small. It's just 12 to 22 people, so perfect for this kind of adventure tour. It is a very comprehensive itinerary going from Belize City to the island of Ambergris Caye to the southern coast and ending in the Cayo district. Some highlights on this tour include a visit to the Lamanai ruins, several snorkeling opportunities, a visit to the orange farm and a Mayan chocolate factory, and a chance to interact with locals as well during a drumming lesson or a visit to a women's cooperative. Now, this was just a very, very brief overview, but what we're going to do next is we're going to have Efrain take us on actually that virtual journey of this tour. So let's begin our journey. So it all starts in Belize City, right, Efrain? What can our travelers expect during the first 2 days in Belize City?
Okay, so coming to Belize, we will be spending the first night in Belize City, right? Where this is the hub to all other destinations throughout our country. We'll be having our welcome dinner, having a good night rest, and getting ready for an awesome adventure the following day. So the following day, we'll be going to the ancient Mayan city of Lamanai. We'll be traveling via bus for about an hour north to the town of Orange Walk, where when on arrival, we will be getting off the bus, and then we'll be going on a boat, an open air boat with canopy, and we'll be traveling on a winding river like we're going on an Indiana Jones adventure, looking for wildlife along the way.
Thank you, Efrain. Before we talk about the wildlife that we're going to see along the way, I do have the first pre-submitted question here that I want to ask you. Michelle wants to know, are the boat rides open air? Now, you just touched on this briefly, but we have multiple boat rides on this tour. So can you just give our audience an idea of what the boating experience is like on this tour?
Okay, so our boats are all open air with canopies. So going snorkeling will be open air with canopies. Even going on the island and the ferry will be open air and canopies also.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thank you for answering that. Now let's get back to that boat ride. When I did it, it really did, like, we were in the Indiana Jones movie, and we saw so much wildlife, and I have a few photos here to share, but can you tell us what one can expect to see?
All right, so first of all, Belize is a mecca for birders. And just traveling along this winding river, there's so much beautiful tropical birds and some from your country that migrate to Belize. Also, we look for the moorlet crocodile that lives along the river. And the moorlet crocodile was the reason why Lamanai is called Lamanai. Lamanai in Yucatec Mayan means submerged crocodile. So besides these wildlife, we look for critters like the beautiful green iguana. The male is orange in color, and the female is green. Along the way, we also might be blessed by seeing a howler monkey along the way. But we always stop once we see something good and we travel. But that's traveling, and this boat ride and this winding river looking at nature is awesome.
Mm-hmm. It certainly is, but what comes after is just as exciting, which is the actual ruins. Tell us more about Lamanai.
So traveling on the river, it opens up to this large lagoon that is in front of this ancient Mayan city of Lamanai. This city have been in occupation for over 3 millennia. It was built before Christ was born, and it was also occupied until the Europeans arrived. So at the site, we have like 3 major temples that you will be visiting. And this one here is the High Temple. At the top of the High Temple, you can see a panoramic view of the canopy along with the beautiful lagoon and river that leads to Lamanai.
Mm-hmm. And what is this temple? I remember it was my favorite. Can you tell us more about it?
This is one of the most popular temples that is shown on postcards and all over the internet, but this is the Mass Temple. It's the smallest of the 3 temples at Lamanai. The Mass is 13 feet high or tall. It is in the face or facial feature of an Olmec with upturned lips and wide nose. A ruler was buried inside this temple with jade and shells offering, and also nearby was a female that was buried. So it showed that at Lamanai, they both had female and male rulers at Lamanai.
Love that. So yeah, this is a photo of our group, and I can tell the audience at home that we had such a good time during this excursion. It was a wonderful way to start the tour. Now, before we talk about our next tour highlight, I do have another question here for you, Efrain. This time the question is from Debbie, and she would like to know how much walking is involved on this tour.
I would say it may seem like a lot of walking, but it's not. We'll be walking within a 2.5 kilometer loop on uneven grounds and walking up some steps. So the most difficult thing is walking up these high steps. And walking on uneven grounds. If you want to climb on top of the temple, we do allow it. But again, it's a little bit challenging to do, but you guys are welcome to do that.
Okay, well, thank you so much for answering that. All right, so our next stop is the beautiful island, which I always pronounce incorrectly, but you're gonna correct me in just a minute, but Ambergris Cay, which was my favorite part of this tour. Well, they all were, but I really loved the snorkeling experiences here. So Efrain, can you tell our listeners what they can expect during this 2-day visit here?
Yeah, well, Ambergris Cay is the most popular island in Belize and the largest. It sits next to the barrier reef that you can see in front of the island. And so most visitors come to Belize just to visit Ambergris Cay and to snorkel and to dive. So being in Ambergris Cay, we will be doing snorkeling in the Holchan Marine Reserve, which is an awesome spot that is protected, and it is you're in an aquarium that is filled with marine critters and fishes, sharks, rays, what have you.
Now, before we talk about the actual snorkeling excursions, I do have one more question. This one is from Janice, and she is saying, I'm sure the reef has changed over the year. What is the scuba diving experience like on the reef? Now, at Go Ahead, we do not offer scuba diving experiences. Our excursions are all snorkeling, but can you just tell us in general what the experience is like?
All right, first of all, as Daniela said, we won't be doing any scuba diving, but doing snorkeling in the Holchan Marine Reserve is awesome. And you can also free dive if you can. We can free dive there also while we're doing snorkeling, not scuba diving. But I must say that Belize is considered in the top 5 diving destination in the world. But doing snorkeling on this tour, because we won't have a lot of time, free time is going to be awesome.
Yeah, so we actually just did get a question from the live audience here. And so are you saying that if somebody really wants to do scuba diving, there isn't enough time to do it on this itinerary, right?
Yeah, because we're all going to be there like probably a half day that you'll have to get that done, which is going to be, a little tight.
So we recommend then with all of our tours, you can always extend your stay. So if you want to do that, extend your stay and then you can go scuba diving. And then there was one more question, which we'll touch on in just a bit, but it was about when snorkeling, do we enter from the boat or from land? So next, I'll show you actually a photo of what, this is the boat and the snorkeling equipment you get. And from my experience, all the snorkeling was from the boat, but do we ever do it from land?
No. The reef is right directly in front of the island. And so it's probably probably 15 minutes away boat ride. And we go to the area with the Holchan Marine Reserve where we will snorkel off the boat. There are ladders for you to get in the boat and off the boat.
Yeah, exactly. And you always have help there and it's actually not that difficult. But let's talk about what we'll see during our snorkeling excursions.
So as I mentioned before, this is like you are in an aquarium. So looking right there, you can see all tropical fishes. These are blue tang or dory in the movie. But there's a large variety of marine fishes there. There's also a feeding area for the turtles. The turtles love to eat the seagrass. And so there's a high possibility of seeing green turtles at the site. Right, a beautiful picture of the green turtle. You'll also be seeing nurse sharks. Nurse sharks are not aggressive. They are very docile. They are bottom feeders. They are more of a suction than a bite, right? So these guys will never attack you. And we always pass through the area so you can get a view of them. And while snorkeling, more than likely you will see a number of them also in the water snorkeling.
Yes, you will likely see them. And I'm so glad Efrain told us ahead of time that you don't need to be afraid of those sharks because we saw them on our first snorkeling excursion. And it was actually pretty cool to snorkel with sharks. Yeah, but we also saw this. What is it?
Yeah,
Efrain?
that's a southern stingray. But we also have the eagle ray. We have different types of rays, Spanish rays. So we always look also, the guys are very good at spotting wildlife while snorkeling and showing you all the critters from the moray eel that are hidden under the rocks. All right, here, this is an Antillean manatee. Belize have a healthy population of Antillean manatees, and these love to feed on the seagrasses. So it's a very small chance of seeing them, although they are in the area, right? They're very timid and gentle giant, but if you see them, it's an awesome experience. And along the reef, this is how it will be looking. You will be looking at the reef. This is the cleaning station, as I may say. All the fishes are eating algae off the corals. It is using it for protection. All right. And so again, we are looking at grunts that are there. This is, as I said, it's the area, Holchan, is a rich area with biodiversity.
Yeah. It was just so beautiful. I wish I could go back. Honestly, the best snorkeling I've done in my entire life. We did get a number of questions about the snorkeling excursion. So, Efrain, I want to ask those now before we move on. So we got a few questions about the snorkeling equipment. Of course, with COVID, do we still provide snorkeling equipment or do we bring it or buy it there? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
The supplier, we do provide snorkeling equipments, and all these snorkeling equipments are sanitized properly, and we do everything that is the right thing to have them ready for you guys. But also travelers have opted to bring their own snorkel or their own equipments, and that has also worked well also because they have their own equipments. They know their equipments.
Yeah, on our tour, we had a mix of both. I personally always bring my own snorkel just because I'm used to it. But the equipment that they provided was perfectly safe and sanitized, as Efrain said. Now, there were a couple other questions here regarding what other options can someone do who doesn't want to go snorkeling. So should those travelers stay behind and just enjoy the beach, or can they still come on the boat and then just enjoy the boat ride? What do you recommend for those who don't like to snorkel?
But I would say that being on a boat, you'll be on the boat for over 2 hours per se. So after a while, you might not want to be there. So I would say if you're gonna opt not to do snorkeling, right, or you don't want to get in the water, then I would say exploring San Pedro would be a good choice to do. Just walking downtown, like 15 minutes around the area, there's so much spots that you can visit, restaurants, souvenir shops, bars, and all, people to talk to. Everyone is friendly. So having that experience in town would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. It's up to you if you want to come along. We've definitely had travelers on my tour too who didn't do all the snorkeling excursions, but even if you're new to snorkeling, I would recommend doing it. There was actually one more question that I'm going to ask right now from Diane. She wants to know, do you need to know how to swim to snorkel?
No, you don't need to know how to swim to snorkel. Belize, for example, I always take non-swimmers with me snorkeling. First of all, I would tell them that the water is so salty. And when I say salty, that means it's very buoyant. And we also give you a vest to use under your belly, and that keeps you underwater. So with the buoyancy of the salt and that vest, if I give you a cinder block, you won't sink. So once you jump in the water, you don't have to do anything and you're on top of the water. After that, I just give you, to move your hand and your feet and you're off on your own. But if not, we also take you along with us, because I've taken several travelers with me while I'm snorkeling along. I have a ring and they hold on and they just look in the water and enjoy the view, and I take them along.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, I know we have more questions coming in. I'm going to take those a little bit later, but let's move on and continue with our virtual journey here. Next, we're traveling to the southern coast. So Efrain, tell our audience what they can expect to see here.
Okay, so after leaving San Pedro, we get back on our boat and we travel back for an hour and a half to Belize City, where we'll get on our bus and we start making our journey southwards to the southern coast. But before we arrive at the hotel in the southern coast, we will be visiting a orange farm. And the family that runs this farm have been doing orange cultivation for many generations. And what they're doing is trying to bring back the industry, because the industry have been heavily affected by diseases. And so they're trying to bring back the industry, and we as a group help them with this venture of bringing back the industry by visiting them and also planting our own trees as a group to bring up the numbers of trees that they have. But it's a good history. It's a good experience to be there and to listen to what they're going through. So most of the travelers, they enjoy just being there, visiting a family and listening to what they have to say.
Yes, I would totally agree with that. It was so nice to meet local people. And then planting the tree was a highlight for so many, just knowing that we're doing something good. Great, but after we visit the orange farm, we continue south and we end at this beautiful site. Efrain, tell us more about this place.
Yeah, that's the icing on the cake for the end of that day. We're going to be we're going to be staying in Hopkins Village. Hopkins Village is a Garifuna village, Afro-Caribbean, mixed with Arawak and Carib Indians. And so they live along this beach. They are seafaring people, and these beaches are white sandy beaches. The resort that we'll be staying is awesome. They have a lot of stuff, fun activities that you can do in the water, such as kayaking, paddleboarding, tubing, or taking that local beer at the pool bar. So it is a beautiful time just to relax and enjoy. Also, when you're here, you get to immerse yourself in a part of the culture, the Garifuna culture. And the Garifuna people are pro-African in a sense of being influenced from Africa, and drumming is a big part of their culture. And so you get to partake in learning their drumming, the different types of drum they have, the different rhythm they make, and actually partake in dancing and beating your drums.
Yes, I have to say this was so much fun. Our group did the drumming. We all got up and danced. It was such a fun experience. And I actually took a few videos that I want to share with the audience today. I hope you enjoy, just to see a little bit of the local culture there. So. Well, as you can see, we all had a lot of fun during those lessons, but of course, the resort itself was just breathtaking. Efrain, tell us a little bit more about Hopkins.
Yeah, so Hopkins Village is one of the most popular destinations for tourists in the South. And one of the things that my guests always like to do is just wake up early in the morning and see that sunrise up, get that beautiful picture, just walking along the beachside, feeling that nice sea breeze and the air wetting your feet in the water. It's just so like you're literally in paradise.
You are literally in paradise. But if you want to see more than just crystal blue water and the white sandy beaches, there is more to do, right, Efrain? There's a fun excursion that we offer at Go Ahead.
Yeah, so in the area down south, there are several areas that we can go to do several activities, and one of the popular activities along the way is visiting the Coxcomb Basin Jaguars Reserve, right, or Jaguar Sanctuary. This area here is good for people that loves nature, loves just to hike, love to just smell the fresh air in the jungle, that loves bird, loves to see critters. And the end is actually ending up at a waterfall where you can immerse yourself in the water, nice, refreshing water, take that beautiful picture for Instagram, and just enjoy the moment in nature. Also, it's the Jaguar Preserve. So people may wonder, well, they're going to be seeing jaguars. The 5 cats in Belize are elusive. They may be seeing you, but you're not seeing them. Most visitors that go there will take their camera traps and stay there overnight, and they would put their traps in different locations that the ranger will let them know. And the next day, more likely, they will see pictures of jaguars that are taken on camera traps to know that this is a reserve for the jaguars.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. So for our audience at home, it's very unlikely for you to see a jaguar, but it's still a worthwhile excursion for sure. Now, before we move on to our last stop of this virtual journey, I do want to ask you another question here, Efrain. We got several questions about hotels. So the first question is, what is the name of the resort at Hopkins Village that we stay at? Just to clarify ahead of time, we do have our standard hotels, but every once in a while we have to change them as well. But what is our typical hotel that we stay at?
The typical hotel in Hopkins is Jaguar Reef Lodge and Hopkins Bay.
Exactly. And what a beautiful resort. I've never stayed in a place like this. It's amazing. And then Barbara also had a question about hotels. So she wanted to know, what type of hotels or guest houses do we stay at in general? For example, where do we stay in Ambergris Cay?
Well, as Diana mentioned, we have several suppliers that we would use. We use Mahogany Bay in Ambergris Key. We also use Sunbreeze Hotel in Ambergris Key. Those are two of the most the one that we use mostly in Ambergris Key.
Yeah. And then just to add to that, honestly, the hotels on this tour are all so beautiful and comfortable, and you feel really special. It's almost hard to like leave your beautiful hotel room, but then there's so much beautiful things to see outside as well, right? Okay, well, with that, let's move on to our last stop of this virtual journey. This time we're going west to the Cayo district. Efrain, tell us more about what one can expect there.
Okay, so after leaving the Garifuna village of Hopkins in the southern coast, we'll be traveling to a western district, a town that is near to Guatemala. And so, but before on our journey west, we'll be stopping at the cacao farm, and we'll be partaking in making our own chocolate the way the Mayans did in the past. So we will visit a farm where you will be tasting the cacao from the tree. You'll be learning all the health benefits packed with antioxidants and all the good stuff. Then you will be going to the Mayan factory or the Mayan place where you will be partaking in using the Mayan utensils that was used for generations, hundreds of years, grinding your cacao nibs and making your own chocolate and tasting and learning how healthy chocolate is.
I love this experience because I am a chocolate lover, and just hearing about all the health benefits just reassured me that I should keep eating chocolate. And it was really fun to just, you know, see the whole process, but also do it and see how much work goes into making chocolate and then actually trying the result. Delicious chocolate for sure. Now, while everybody loved this experience, what everybody was really looking forward to what comes next, which is our tubing experience. Tell us more about that, Efrain.
So when we leave the cacao area or the chocolate making area, we continue traveling towards the west, but we also stop and do the cave tubing experience, which is one of the most popular tour in Belize. You'll be visiting Xibalba. And what does Xibalba mean? Xibalba in Yucatec Mayan means the gateway to the underworld, right? So basically you're going into hell, which is an awesome spot according to the Mayans. So while traveling through this underwater river that flows under the cave system, you will be listening to the guides give you Mayan history as it relates to the cave system, and also looking at the beautiful formation within the cave, the stalactites, the stalagmites, the column, the color of the water. It's so relaxing because the guides will be taking you through while you just lay back and relax and listen to the history of the area.
Yeah, definitely highlight of the tour. So fun, so relaxing, so unique. Everybody should do this. What are we doing next?
So when we arrive west, we get a good night rest again. As you can see, it's all packed with activity. The following day, we visit the San Antonio's Woman Cooperative. And this is a Mayan village that is run by the Yucatec Mayan. And the women had come together because they realized that they're losing their culture, and they came together to try to preserve their culture, their food, their pottery making, right? Their language. And so you get to partake in grinding your own corn using the traditional utensils, and then you make your own corn tortilla, which is awesome with a little bit of drizzle of coconut oil on top and salt. It's awesome. And you also partake in making your pottery, or you get an idea of how it is that what they're doing to bring back their culture. And to top it off, at the end, you get a beautiful Mayan lunch. The juices are from the fruits in the area. If you're getting oranges, it's nice, freshly squeezed oranges. Or it comes from or if you get other juices, it's going to be from nearby fruits in the area. Their garden, you get their garden salad. All right, you get a Mayan lunch as per se. So if you look at it, you can see the Mayan tamales, On the left, you can see a pico de gallo sauce with corn fried tortillas, and you can see their lettuce and their vegetables from their garden. This is an awesome, healthy meal. And if you want to top it off, you can have your local Belizean beer at the back, Belican beer.
Yes, honestly, I have to say this was one of my favorite lunches on this tour. So delicious. And meeting the people, the women there in the co-op was just so special, and interacting with them. And this is also a good place if you love to bring back souvenirs for loved ones or just for yourself. This is a good place to shop for local souvenirs to bring back as well. Now, after we have this delicious lunch, where do we go next?
All right, so after the lunch, we leave after the lunch and we travel closer to the Guatemalan border. This Mayan temple called El Castillo is less than a mile away from the Guatemalan border. And so we will be visiting Chinanchonich, all right? And we climbing on the top of this temple, you can see a panoramic view, forest canopy, the valley. You can also see into Guatemala. You can see the towers, the little house in Guatemala. So it's extremely close to Guatemala. This is in one of the most popular and the second largest Mayan temple in Belize that has been excavated.
Yes. And I don't know if our audience at home knows this, but Prince William and Kate were there last week as well, right? And they saw this exact ruin as well?
Yes, Prince William and Princess Kate was here. They were also at the chocolate factory and doing the chocolate tour as well.
Wonderful. And they stayed at the same resort as us, you said?
Huh?
Did they stay at the same resort? Did you say that?
Yes, they did stay at the Jaguar Reef Lodge in the southern
Wonderful.
coast as well.
Good. Okay. Anyway, so now that you've taken us through this beautiful virtual journey, thank you for that. Let's talk about my favorite subject, which is food. So I know you put together a very comprehensive list here of your favorite things to eat and drink while in Belize. So I can't wait to dive into this topic. So Efrain, tell us about your favorite foods.
Okay, I am a seafood person, and I believe that anyone that comes to Belize must try their grilled lobster, the Caribbean lobster or spiny tail lobster. All the meat is in the tail. Light seasoning with garlic and butter on a grill. I can't say enough. It's just so tasty. Next on my list is ceviche. Ceviche can be of conch, can be of lobster or shrimp, or all mixed together. But this again, with a nice Belizean beer on the beachside, it's just an awesome experience just to be enjoying a nice ceviche. It's extremely tasty.
I have to agree with that. I had ceviche almost every single day on this trip, and it's so good, so fresh, so delicious.
And immersing in the culture of Belize, we have hudut. Hudut is a Garifuna dish that is a fish, usually snapper, in a coconut stew. On the side, we see the habanero pepper for spice. And on the other side that is in yellow, that's mashed green and ripe plantain. It's so tasty. And to get it from an authentic Garifuna restaurant will give you that real feeling of the culture. And then this one here is the national dish of Belize. You will get to experience this on day number 2 in Belize when you visit Lamanai. This is free-ranging stewed chicken, also with coconut, rice and beans, Belizean salad with fried plantain. This is more of a Caribbean flavor, but the entire country has adopted this dish as the national dish of Belize. And another cultural food is the tamales, which is a little bit different than what people might know from other countries. But this is more of a Bayan base. It's wrapped in plantain or banana leaves, either meat that is seasoned chicken, beef, or pork, corn base. right? So it's a very tasty corn meal of the Mayans. And my favorite drink is the #1 beer in Belize, Belikin beer. The recipe for this beer was from a German brewmaster, and we have kept the recipe, and we have never changed it. So this is the #1 beer among Belizean in Belize, and it's the beer to drink when you're here.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. As a German, I very much enjoyed this beer pretty much every single day on this tour. So if you're a beer lover, this is a great one to have. Otherwise, there's amazing cocktails, maybe pina colada, but Efrain, I know you have a different cocktail that you prefer.
Yeah. In Belize, there are a lot of different cocktails with a lot of different names. You can have just fun looking at a menu of cocktails. But one of the most popular cocktails in Belize is the Ripper, which is made from our local coconut rum and pineapple juice with cherry at the top. Very, very simple, but it's on the sweet side. I like sweet drinks. So the Ripper is a favorite of Belizeans and myself. And then we also have the soursop juice. The soursop juice is a healthy drink. Sorry. It's a healthy drink, and it is made from the soursop, or in Spanish called guanabana. And it is packed with antioxidant, cancer-fighting qualities, and it's being researched. So this is a very, very nice, tasty drink. It's not sour at all. It's like strawberry and pineapple together. We make nice ice cream from it, flavor. But to have it as a drink, that's the best way to have it. And it's very, very healthy.
Great. And then the last drink you have here for us is blackberry wine.
Yeah. So in Belize, we do like to ferment all of our fruits, and we do have a lot of tropical fruits in Belize. But my favorite is the blackberry wine. And just eating the blackberry off the tree, it's packed with antioxidant. And I just love to have a glass of this just before my dinner in the evening.
Okay, well, thank you so much for walking us through your list of favorite foods and drinks. Now, we did get a question that was pre-submitted by Mary Lou, and I did see this come in multiple times here too, from the audience as well. Are there any good food options for vegetarians? And do you have any examples of a vegetarian dish that one could order?
First of all, we work with our vegetarians on tour and the suppliers. So we always provide different options for them. So when food is included, we do get different options for vegetarians on tour. But if you're dining on your own, any restaurant will have a number of vegetarian options for you to eat from, okay? So you can have, for example, a tamale without the meat, for example. That's a simple local cultural experience you can have. And that is a vegetarian. It can be packed with vegetables inside and different peas, but with no meat at all. All right. So you can have something more cultural, and you can have something that you are used to from North America, or from a cuisine that they will have, like different salads and stuff.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. And then we just got another question from Victoria, and she's wondering, are there any good gluten-free options? Now, my favorite ceviche is gluten-free, but I also know that not everybody is a seafood lover. Yeah. Are there other good gluten-free options?
Yeah, we do. As I said, we do a lot of corn-based food here in Belize. So we can definitely have a different number of gluten-free options. And again, we do work with our suppliers, and if you're on your own, most of the restaurants would have a number of different gluten-free options.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, wonderful. So next, we want to share a few helpful tips. We received so many questions ahead of time about weather and about packing and about money. So Efrain, I thought we just could spend a little bit of time now answering some of those questions by giving some of the tips. So first, let's talk about the weather. I know this is a very common question, and looking through the Q&A box today, I saw a lot of questions about the weather as well. So is there a best time to go to Belize weather-wise? Do you guys have a rainy season or dry season? When would you recommend people go?
Okay. Well, to me, the best months to come to Belize is November, December, January, and February. And the reason is because it's cooler and the sun is still shining. But the sun is always shining in Belize. And if you look at the different temperature along the coast, it's more cooler, like in Belize City. Inland, it's a little bit more warmer. But as I mentioned, I would consider Belize weather as a mild weather. Rainy season coincide with the Atlantic hurricane season, which is from June to November. So whenever that time is, around that time, we might have tropical depression, a tropical wave, some disturbance in the atmosphere, and we will get rain. When that has passed, it's bright and shining sun. So there's sun all year round.
Great. Well, thank you so much for answering that. So just to reiterate, it's always great to go to Belize. There's always sun, even if there's a little bit of rain throughout the day, but you recommend November through March. Now, that is a kind of a nice segue into our next section here, which is regarding packing. What do you recommend travelers pack for any time of the year? Are there some essentials we should always bring?
Yeah, well, packing tips, I would always say to pack light. You need that space to take that extra souvenir back. But packing light is good, especially if you need to go up steps or whatever, you're walking along or whatever. Although we will assist you with everything. We are still operating under COVID. So although there have been less restriction now, we still recommend having a mask and sanitizer with you. Rain gear to jinx the weather, but we are going to be venturing into rainforest, and so there might be a little bit of rain. So make sure you have a poncho or a light raincoat with you. That's something heavy. To me, in Belize, the most dangerous thing is the sun. You know, if you're not very careful, you can get very bad sunburn. So make sure you have sunblock and bug repellent, because it can get buggy, especially in the jungly area. So make sure you have your bug repellent also. Walking shoes is important. You can have a hiking shoe, but a good tennis shoe with nice grip or sole at the bottom, nice grip, when you're walking on uneven grounds or up steps would be great. All right. Water shoe recommended for cave tubing. You can rent it there, but it is recommended to have. So you can use water shoe along the beach, at cave tubing, whatever. So it's a good idea to have water shoe with you. Dry bag is very important also, because if you want to take your electronic stuff with you, cave tubing, you can have it in the bag, or snorkeling, you can have it in the bag, or any water activity. So it's good to, while traveling, to have a dry bag with you. Reusable water bottle. All right. We always recommend for you to bring your reusable water bottle, because we want to limit the waste, plastic waste. I must say that on our bus, at our hotels, at the restaurant where we're staying, there's always a water filler for you to refill your water with purified water. Everything that is given on tour is purified water. So that's what you get, right? So you can refill your bottle and you can have it with you. You can have your water. Medication, very important. If you are on medication, if you're taking medication, please don't stop. Please bring it with you. Also, if you're prone to seasickness, bring some medication for that as well. And also bring a small packable towel, especially when we're doing cave tubing. You can use that so it's not big and bulky to have with you on board the bus.
Thank you, Efrain. This is such a good, important, comprehensive list. I have a few additions here. When it comes to medication, my tip always is bring your medication in your carry-on. Not that we want this to happen, but your checked luggage might get lost along the way, and your medication is important, so make sure you put that in your carry-on. I also always recommend bringing a little bit of extra medication in case your flight on the way home is delayed or canceled and you need to stay a little longer for whatever reason. And then, of course, with your carry-on, always bring a change of clothes too, in case your bag gets lost, which I hope doesn't happen. Now, before we move on to our money section, I did see a number of questions that fit nicely into this section. So I want to ask those now. First, is the water safe to drink? Is the ice okay to drink? You just mentioned that there are refillable stations, and I can affirm that in your hotel room you have water filling stations everywhere, but in general, is the ice safe to drink?
Yes, all ice and water that is given on tour or at any establishment is all purified water. So it is okay to drink.
Yeah,
Ice
and
is
then
okay.
wonderful, thank you. And then what about salads and fresh vegetables? Are they safe to eat? Because we often recommend that we don't eat fresh vegetables because it may have been washed with the water. But I ate all of the vegetables and all of the salad and was fine. The whole tour was fine. But what would you say? How would you answer that question?
Well, we in Belize is, I must say, right, Belize, 60% of Belize is under natural vegetation. Very small population. So our water is healthy to drink from the pot, but we do purified water always. So all the suppliers, everything is washed properly with water. It is safe to eat. And the vegetables, if you buy at the market, you need to wash them if you want to try something from the market. For example, you wash them properly also, and it's fine. But you won't get sick. You know, it's safe to eat.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And then in terms of medication, do you recommend taking malaria medication?
I don't recommend. In Belize, our malaria is not a huge. There are very few cases per year, like almost to none. You know, so we are never like being bombarded with malaria notice and whatever. You know, so I wouldn't recommend it. But as I said, whatever is recommended from that side, we don't have an issue with malaria here in Belize.
I would say to that, check with your healthcare provider. If they recommend that you take it, you can. I personally didn't. The rest of my group didn't. I got plenty of mosquito bites, but I was perfectly fine. So, but again, check with your own healthcare provider on that. And then one question here from Lisa is, where can you buy distilled water for a CPAP machine? So the CPAP machine is for those who for sleeping at night. Yeah.
Yeah. There are several areas like not a lot, but there are several areas that we can buy distilled water for CPAP machines. I remember purchasing one at one of the guys that does distribution for batteries and stuff. So they have all these bottled distilled waters also. So we got it from there last time, but it's not something that is used a lot in Belize.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you. I know there's a few more questions, but I'm going to save those for our Q&A section so we can move on. Next, we're going to talk about money matters. So one of the questions that I saw in the chat today and that we always see pre-submitted is, are US dollars accepted widely in Belize, or should I get local currency? Can you tell us a little bit more about the local currency?
Okay. Well, first of all, in Belize, we use Belize dollars, right? So as you can see at the left, you can see the Queen face, Queen Elizabeth, on our money, but also we accept US dollars almost everywhere. I would say 99.9% of the places will accept US dollars. The exchange rate is pegged to the US dollar, so it's 2 Belize to 1 US. Credit card is accepted in most, if not all, of the suppliers or the places that we will be going to, right? ATM is not widely available, especially when we're traveling southbound. In San Pedro, you have access to more ATMs in Belize City and in the west. Southbound is more limited, but or the tour director on tour would advise you of this, right? But it's not widely available. US dollar is widely accepted, as I mentioned before, but it's recommended that you have a small denomination, because if you're buying from a small supplier, for example, you're buying a souvenir off the street, they might not have a change for $100 US. So it's good to have small denominations with you and make sure that the dollar is not damaged, like torn or stuff. Other than that, they will accept your money anywhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much for clarifying that. Now, let's move into our Q&A section. So before we take our live questions today. I do have a few more pre-submitted questions that I want to answer. Want you to answer, Efrain. And just for the audience at home, either on Zoom or on Facebook, if you have any remaining questions, now is a good time to put those into the Q&A box or in the comment section on Facebook. So, but for the pre-submitted questions, Efrain, the first one here is from Barbara, and she is wondering, how safe is Belize for solo female travel? In fact, we got a lot of questions from solo travelers. So can you speak a little bit more to, like, do you typically have solo travelers on our tours, and how do they integrate with the group?
Our group is not large group, number one, and two, usually we have a lot of solo travelers that comes on tour, and we become a family very quickly. You get new friends, they hang around. But when it comes to safety in Belize, the most troubling spot, I would say, on the news, but not for me, is Belize City. And we won't be staying there. We'll just be staying there overnight and having dinner, and then we go out and enjoy the country. Where most travelers that I've met, and I've been doing this for many, many years, and most travelers that comes here, Belize is extremely safe, or they feel very safe while they're here. And while we're on tour, we get good recommendation from the tour directors on tour, and you are always in places that it's safe. So I would say that solo travelers, not a problem. There's a lot of solo travelers, especially female, that would join this type of tours.
Exactly. And again, if you're traveling with Go Ahead, even when you travel solo, you're never alone because you're always with the group. You make friends along the way. It's actually really fun. And again, you have this safety network of EF and your tour director and the local staff on the ground there. So definitely great opportunity. If you want to go to Belize, you are a solo traveler, Go Ahead Tours is definitely a great option for you. Now, the next question that we got was from Tracy, and she's wondering what sort of options are available to explore the Garifuna culture. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Okay, so to explore the Garifuna culture, we will be staying in the southern coast, usually at Jaguar Reef Lodge. And so that is about, I would say, like 5 minutes or 10 minutes the most away by cab to the town, or you can walk it if you're into exercising, probably a half an hour walk to town. But in Hopkins Village, Hopkins is one of the most popular Garifuna village and a popular tourist village in Belize. So there's a lot of travelers that goes there that stay in town. There are a lot of souvenirs, restaurants, just dialoguing with the people and culture. So there's going to be a lot of options if you just want to go and explore downtown, and explore the Garifuna village.
Okay, wonderful. Now, the last pre-submitted question I have before we take the live questions, this one is from Richard, and he's wondering, how does Belize compare to Costa Rica? Can you compare and contrast?
Okay. In Belize, in comparison to Costa Rica, is that we have beautiful topography like them, meaning that we have beautiful jungles, we have beautiful cave system, we have beautiful rivers, we have the ocean, right? So that is all similar for people that love natural history, that love the outdoors, right? The tropical environment. The difference, right, is to me is that in Belize, you get to have Mayan history, which has been, the Mayan civilization is one of the greatest civilizations in the world, and you can be walking or visiting structure that was inhabited or built before Christ walked in Judea. You also, in Belize, we have the second largest barrier reef in the world, the healthiest barrier reef in the world, according to UNESCO, right? Because we know that Australia's barrier reef have been devastated, and we are trying to protect ours as well. All right, so the barrier reef, Mayan history, right? But what I will always say when I've been asked this question, I've been asked this many times. They ask me, hey, what's the best thing about Belize? And my answer is always the people. we are so friendly, we are so helpful, we are so welcoming. And so not to take anything away from any country, I'm not saying, I'm talking about me, I'm home, I know me. And that's what the people is the gem of this country. But we have Mayan history, largest barrier reef, and beautiful outdoors area, tropical areas.
Thank you so much for going into detail for that. I actually also just came back from Costa Rica, so I did both tours back to back. And I love both experiences, but I have to agree with Efrain. Belize it just has the Mayan culture, the reef, and really nice people. So it's a great experience. Both are very great experiences. So I would actually say go to both countries. But okay, let's move on to our questions. So we have a few here. So I want to dive in by asking Julie's question first. So she is wondering how she can contribute to the local people while visiting Belize. Is it best to bring school supplies for children or buy local items? What can she do to give back to the community?
That's a very good question. I've always been asked that question also. By buying local souvenirs from local artisans, that's a good way of giving back to the community. The money is being stayed here. School and having school supplies and stuff, I don't know if we will have time to do that, but that's a good idea. But I would say just by buying local stuff, local cuisine, local restaurants, local souvenirs, that would be a good way of contributing back to the community.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now, before I ask the next questions, I do want to just point out, I know we're out of time, but so it's fine if people need to log off. I just want to say a quick thank you to those of you who need to log off right now for being here today. It's been a pleasure to have you on this call. We will be sending out the recording of this tomorrow. So if you're interested in hearing the answers to some of the questions that we'll be asking now, you can always watch the rest of the webinar tomorrow. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you who want to stay on, we appreciate it. But we also want to make sure that we get to all of the questions. So Efrain, with that, the next question is from Gail, and she said she took a taxi to Bamboon Sanctuary once and fed the howler monkeys there. Is there an option to do that?
That's a good question. I really need to rethink on the itinerary. It's a nice experience. I know the community baboon sanctuary. There's the two choices that I can come up with is like on if you probably would, like, if the group would arrive early on the arrival day, that can be done.
Okay.
Or if on the second day, if we decide to leave early to Lamanai and on our way back, we do the community baboon sanctuary, that's an option. Traveling on the last day is going to be hectic. So those are the only two options that could probably work.
Okay, wonderful. So the next question is from Mari. It sounds like Mari went to Belize on her honeymoon, but she's wondering, are lionfish a problem in Ambergris just as much as they are in southern Belize? Lionfish, are they a problem?
So, okay, are there a problem with lionfish? That's the question, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Lionfish is an invasive species. So there is no known predator in the Atlantic for lionfish. And so what the Belize government has done is train chefs to cook these and offer it in their food, and also to train artisans to use it for making souvenirs. All right. So lionfish are killed by fishermen and are brought in and sold so that the restaurants can sell them and know that you are buying lionfish to contribute to taking them off the reef, because, as I said, they are affecting our fishing and tourism industry. So we do have an issue with lionfish in Belize, but fortunately, in the past, I used to see more lionfish on our reef than now. I can't remember the last time I've seen a lionfish on our reef. So, but they are around. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. So the next question is from Barb, and she would like to know, what is the humidity like? Is it very humid?
It's it is very humid, and
I do remember.
some days while you're out doing your adventure, you just want to reach back and just take that shower and relax with a nice cold beer, right? But yeah, it is humid.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a question from Jonathan here regarding money again. So if you're using American dollars, will you get change in American currency? And are the credit cards good everywhere?
Credit card is accepted in most of our suppliers. The smaller one may not have credit cards, so it's not everywhere for credit cards. Money also, you can use the US currency, but sometimes or most of the times they might not have the change to return back, so it will be mixed with some US and some Belize dollars, or so you may not get all the time US dollars back. You can ask, and if they have it, they will give you back in US dollars.
That's great. That's good to know. Thank you. And then the next question is from Arita, and she would like to know, what are some of good souvenirs that they could or she could bring back from Belize, either local crafts or foods or drinks, drink products.
So when it comes to souvenir, we have some beautiful wood carving from one of the trees. It's called Zerecote, which is only found in a part of Honduras and in Belize. Beautiful art, small, any size that you like. So if you want some small thing, like maybe a dolphin, something, and there are artisans on the beach side, there are different areas that sell those things. Also, when visiting the cultural areas, like the Garifuna culture, they do very good basket weaving and different souvenirs from shells from the sea, because they're seafaring people, like earrings and different things. The Mayan culture, they are also very good basket weaver, but they use a different type of material from the rainforest to do the basket weaving, and they do also have their little different types of chains and rings and whatever bracelets for you to. So you traveling different areas, for example, you can buy souvenirs from the Mayan area, souvenirs from the Garifuna area, and they have things specific to their culture.
Yeah. Mari just put in the chat that she likes Mary Sharp's hot sauce.
Yes.
And I have to admit, the souvenir I brought back to my family was Belizean hot sauce, and I love it. I had it every morning on my eggs, and then I brought it back, and it's delicious.
Yep.
And then Tracy wants to know, what is the local rum?
Wow, Belize was built from the piracy days with rum. So they used to make a lot of rum and drink a lot of rum. So there's a lot of distilleries in Belize. There's a lot of rum in Belize, but the most popular one that have won international is is the five barrel rum and the 1 barrel rum, right? Those are made from cane juice in Belize, molasses, right? But there's a lot of the Tiburon rum, which is a little quality rum in Belize also. So there are several types of rum, but one of the most popular one is the 1 barrel rum.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, last question for today from Angie. Is there going to be enough time to visit the Belize Zoo?
Again, it can happen as a group. As a group, the group have to decide if everyone wants to go to Belize Zoo. And one of the perfect time to do that is when we're leaving San Pedro. Going southbound, we will be passing along the road to passing the zoo, and that would have been a perfect time to do it. But it have to be a collective decision by the group, because some people might not want to leave early and want to stay a little. Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, again, if you just want to extend your stay, we're very flexible at Go Ahead. Just give us a call. Let us know you want to come in a couple days early or so, and then you can always do the zoo also on your own. And then, great. So Shashi actually, she was asking, are we talking about the 12-day tour that includes Guatemala? Yes. So our Belize tour does have the extension to Guatemala. We did not talk about that part today, but that is that same day tour. So without the Guatemala piece, it's a 9-day Belize tour. All right.
Can I answer a question that I see?
Yeah. Yes, sure. No,
The,
of course.
the question is, my concern is with the question about the, are we on?
Yes.
About the monkey sanctuary, right? They were asking if it was like a sanctuary or a zoo. It is a sanctuary, but they have been going through different management operation right now, in a sense. But it is a sanctuary where all the landowners have decided to save a portion of their land so that the monkeys can traverse back and forth throughout the village and in neighboring villages. So it includes a number of villages in the River Valley area. So it is a sanctuary as opposed to a zoo where you're enclosed and you come and see them and you can, they are living in their wild in the way they live. That's it. But they are used to maybe in certain areas, people coming around, like the guides coming around and locating them.
Okay, well, thank you so much for clarifying that for us. So with that, I want to say a very big thank you to all of you at home for joining us today. And of course, a very big thank you to Efrain for taking the time today to tell us all about the beautiful country of Belize. For those of you who join us on a regular basis, a big thank you again for your support. I did want to let you know today too that we're going to take a little break from our weekly travel talks as we are preparing for travel again and are busy running our tours again. We are going to focus on preparing our travelers for tour. But if you would love for us to bring the travel talks back, let us know. We will be sending out an email tomorrow with the recording of today's webinar for those of you who missed part of the webinar or want to watch it again, and a quick survey where you can let us know if you want us to bring the travel talks back and what destinations you would like us to highlight. Now, again, with that, a big thank you again to everyone at home. It's been a pleasure hosting this webinar for you today. And Efrain, do you have any parting words for our audience?
I just want to say that Belize is here waiting for you whenever you choose to decide to come to Belize, and you will have an awesome experience. Hope to see you soon.
I 100% have to agree with that. Belize has been so wonderful. So if it has been on your bucket list and you haven't booked a tour yet, do it. It's so worth it. It's so beautiful. Thank you to everyone at home for tuning in today, and have a good afternoon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Take care.